Welcome on in, Foxfires! I don't know why the video is not playing, but hello! First of all, Puffin, salutes to you. Thank you for the tier 3 Demon General subby. And Rox, also thank you for the subby for 49 months. Welcome to the Demon Army to you as well. Hello, everyone. Hello, Wolves. Hello, Gigi. Hello, Sephim. Hello, Blaze. Hello, Rox. Hello, Name. Squish, squish, squish. Hello, Oz. Hello, Seven. Hello, Mama Pup. Sneaking in there. Hello, Amari. Welcome in. At least it's not a good frame. That is also a good point. Ta-da! We're here. Hello, everyone. Are you guys ready to do some study time? You might also notice, or maybe you won't notice. Maybe I shouldn't say anything. I made a couple changes to the model. There's been a few changes. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it. It's very minor. Very minor, very small. But maybe I should not say anything and see if you guys can tell, or if it looks better or worse. I'll let you know. No, the Lotus isn't Morphine. It's not a textural update, but a blend shape update. So basically, I adjusted the weighting for my eyes, so they might look around a little bit more now, and then adjusted the smile a little bit still. And when I open my mouth, it's a little bit different too. Hopefully it looks good. Dodge! Ah! I missed it. Hello, Pepe. Welcome on into you too. Hello. I think I'm free. But yes, welcome in. We are going to be doing some artwork studying today. You were in the general-ish right area. In the face. That is true. But yeah, we're going to be doing some artwork today. We are starting Chapter 4. Yay, Chapter 4. Yeah, so we made it through. Chapter 3 was all about learning how to do like sketching for the body. And now we're starting Chapter 4, and Chapter 4 is all about coloring our characters. So color theory, shading, rendering, all those kinds of things. Whereas like last chapter was kind of more about sketching. This one is going to be more about fleshing out the color and making things more three-dimensional and stuff like that. So yeah, so today is basically going to be a lot of introduction to color theory. I know, Blaze, you were asking if today was going to be a longer or a shorter lesson. I forgot my crayons. Don't worry. Digital art has every crayon under the sun included. All I know is there is a Chitoge on your screen. Oh, is that who this is? I just like the pose. Is that the anime character? I figure we'll still do like our usual. We'll do a little bit of our warm-up sketch, touching on the stuff from last week. Then we'll go into the actual, or we'll do the any critiques, if there is any, and then finish up with the lesson. Oh, that's her name. I see. Also, Shimigami, welcome in. Blaze, is that ... Did you not do any homework? Don't worry, I didn't either. I didn't get any homework done because I was so busy trying to get this model finished. And if you're watching on YouTube, I look different. I look very different now. Surprise! This is my new model that I basically used this course to help me draw better to make this model happen. So yeah, here I am, the whole new LiLi. But yeah, so we'll kind of work in that order. But yeah, Blaze was asking in the Discord if this lesson was going to be a bit shorter because some of the course material looked shorter. I would say there is a lot to learn in today's lesson, but it might not be a lot of drawing this week. It's a lot of lesson and theory work and understanding lighting, essentially, is what today's gonna be, so. Oh, haven't been happy with my last couple weeks of practice. Well, to be fair, Blaze, the body is really hard. I'm never happy with drawing my poses and such either, if that makes it feel any better. Like doing body and poses and stuff is really difficult. It is really hard and it takes a lot of practice. Like I am never happy with my poses either. And they always take me a long time too, so you're not alone. You're not alone, but that's okay. That's okay, because we can just start another chapter and a new type of practice and stuff like that. And you know, that's kind of like part of the art journey too, is you're gonna find things that like, oh, I really enjoy doing hair, or oh, I really enjoy drawing eyes, or I really like backgrounds, I really enjoy doing the sketching of the posing, I enjoy line art. Everybody in their art journey and every artist is different and likes different parts of creating art as well too. And there's gonna be parts of it that you don't like as much too, right? So that's totally normal. And I mean, it's like, oh, I don't enjoy doing, you know, bodies as much. So maybe just for now, I'll focus on drawing like, you know, headshot icons where I'm just like focusing on the head and the hair, right? And then you don't have to worry as much about like posing, right? Whereas like, oh, I really like doing backgrounds, right? But I'm not as strong drawing people, right? So just stick to drawing landscapey type things, right? So yeah, it's kind of, that is art, is finding out which parts of it you like, and then, you know what, focus on those parts. Not getting some of it done, been a problem, but I notice I'm moving slower and I find my momentum dying in the middle of my work. That's fair. That's very fair. Oh, I was gonna find that thing to help with your lines too. I was gonna try to Google for you to see if I could find a exercise for helping with lines. It's my first time watching on my phone and I'm in the same country! And I think you're 3 hours ahead. You're on Eastern time then. Also, welcome in, wolves. Did you have any poutine yet? Welcome to the lands of the Canadas. All right. So yeah. Oh, is it 9? Yes, 9. Sorry. I can math. I swear. Get some maple syrup. Yeah, pancakes and maple syrup. Delicious. But yeah, so just for the first bit here, again, we're gonna start with warm up on this, doing the body pose, because that's what we did last week. So I'll just do a warm up pose, and then we'll go into critiques, and then we'll move into our lesson. Or here, I'll put lesson. Color. Prep. That's what we're gonna be learning today. Honestly, I actually really enjoy color theory stuff. I actually really enjoy learning about color theory. I don't think it's, I mean, color theory is very complicated and there is a lot to it, but I feel like there is like a smaller like chunk, which is what we're going to be kind of touching on today, that is relatively easy to understand and stuff like that. So hopefully it'll be relatively comfy. But yeah, so that's our kind of plan for today. Oh, I don't got the good stuff, not the good maple syrups. I was just gonna say, like, you little thumbnail post in the Discord for the lessons. Wait, little thumbnail post? Oh, the new one! Yeah! I like the new thumbnail. Not you, new, the new thumbnail. Yeah, I got a new thumbnail for art lessons. I did like, I'm gonna be having, I redid all my thumbnails for all my streams. So this is our thumbnail for the new study lessons. It's cute, right? And I used my art, well, Isham drew the bodies, but I did these are my hoodies and my dress that I drew on top of the bodies. So, time to steal over the VOD channel. Go right ahead, GG. I'm hoping that maybe I can make a thumbnail. I don't know if I'll be able to. I'm gonna try to make like a little thumbnail specific for each week. So then, yeah, you can steal them, GG. So, but I don't know if I'll always be able to get one done. We'll see. I'm gonna do my best. But yeah, if there is ever any thumbnail that I draw that you like, steal away, GG. Steal everything. I mean, you're using it for my stuff, so it's not even really stealing. All right, let's start. Once I chat, I'm gonna commit some legal crimes. Wait, didn't we say, what was it? It was like something, the difference between something and something is whether it's legal or not. What were we talking about? That was like last stream. Also, Blaze with a nya nya, nya nya. We have our nya counter increased. I didn't realize that the nya counter was only at 1. That was definitely a mistake on my end. Did the purrs not happen? Oh, maybe the music's too loud. Hold on, the purrs are there. I think the music is just too loud. Hold on. Let me fix some stuff up. We're gonna turn that down. This up. Are the purrs going? Are they not purring? Why are they not purring? Wait, why is there no purrs? Okay, that might be something broken in my Wardo that I don't know how to fix. But also a nyada nyada, nyada nyada as well. We're going purrless, apparently. Let me pause my music. Why are there no purrs? Check the audio. Quack sound effect. Bonk. Did it just get rid of my purrs? How dare? Hold on. Twitch interactions. Where's my purrs? Ah! Quack is there. Is the quack playing? Wait, I don't think the quacks are quacking either, right? with it? There's no quack! Thank you also for the prop throws. So that is definitely something in Warudo. Why are my sound redeems in Warudo not working? There's a thud, but there's no quack, which means the music player is off, because the music player is what I use for... That's something I'm not 100% sure on, because it's definitely in Warudo's. Yeah. I don't know. That is definitely a Warudo thing, because the thuds come through, but the quacks and the purrs are not. So I'm gonna have to take a look at that after stream, or possibly make a note in the Warudo Discord and ask about it that way. So I apologize, there'll be no purrs. Didn't you decrease Nyan to 1 from all the past Nyan Ara spam redeems? That wouldn't happen. I thought they were all at 3. Because before there was the spam, because I had unlimited, like I didn't have a limiter on them, and then I thought I put them all to 3, but Nyan was at 1, and all the others were at 3. So that was a me oops, and I had no idea. Right. Just do this to kind of get a... Just make it so it's roughly the same size. Isn't Ara at 1 too, or was at 1? No, Ara was at 3 as well. All right, I'm gonna add our shoulders. So we just basically kind of roughly mark our pose out. So what was our points from last time? They were like to make sure you have your pose idea in mind, right? And can't believe Manyan has been given the short end of the stick. How dare. Yeah, so we want our poses. Again, I am still a novice when it comes to poses. So I like to just do some really rough ideas and shapes first. and landmarks in marking where kind of the important guidelines are. Like arm length and stuff like that. You always want to start loose and big first. Make any adjustments that way first. And remember, you're looking at like, you're comparing, constantly comparing when you're trying to find those landmarks and stuff. Like I'm paying attention to like the distance between like kind of her head and here and comparing it, you know, to here and stuff like that. And just trying to constantly be referencing all the points amongst each other. So she's got one shoulder kind of up and one shoulder kind of down, right? Do the leg long enough there. Hello, Ham. Welcome in. Is that tutorial figure for the pose? It is. Everybody knows this character, apparently. I've never seen them before. Also, hello, Realities. Welcome in. Also, when I'm, you can't really see this part, but when I'm drawing these, I'm actually physically, like, using my hand and like kind of measuring out roughly like between like this point and this point on the model, and I'm using like my actual physical hand to grab that distance and then make a mark. So don't be afraid to you know, use rulers and your physical hand and stuff. It's like when the artists do the thing where they hold up their hand and they do one eye. They're using their pencil as a guide to mark how big or long or wide or something a gap is, and then using that pencil on like their paper to make a mark. So don't be afraid to like use it physically. You mean dancing? Hello, Lolis. Welcome in. Also, Hawkbar, thank you for the raid. How was your stream? What were you guys up to? And also thank you for the subby for 37 heckin' months. Welcome to the Demon Army for you, Hawkbar. Hello, Antega. Also, Foxstars, be sure to give Hawkbar some love as well. What were you guys up to today? Oh wait, Sonic! You're still going on the Sonic. How far are you through? Just finished Sonic's route in Sonic 06. Nice. It was an ordeal. Uh-oh. Oh yes, I was explaining how to draw. Yeah. We're doing our art studies today. So we're doing a warm-up right now. And then we're gonna be doing a lesson in a bit. I also had to take out, I had my hair up in like a claw clip. It was giving me a headache, so I have to take it out and put in a hair elastic. Here we go. Went into how to hold your ruler and your model started dancing. Yep. Don't worry. That's how it is here. You just break out into song and dance, you know? Maybe not song. Here, we could actually even compare. As well. Yeah, double raiders. Is this Clip CC? Clip Studio Paint. Is that what you were meaning? Clip Studio Paint is what we're using today. But welcome in, Fushi. How was your stream? And what were you doing? Oh, wait, you were playing Donkey Kong Country. Yeah, you were. And I was like, I love Donkey Kong Country. I haven't actually played that one though. Did you have a good time? Ah, you have the software. I don't know how it works. Well, our !learn art learn art playlist. In the very first one, I go over a lot of like the beginner shortcuts and hotkeys and stuff like that, and the interface. So if you watch the first lesson, Lolis, that might actually give you a good idea of how the program works, if you're interested. But yeah, welcome in everybody. Did you have a good stream with the Donkey Kong? Of course. Oh gosh, I don't know how to say your name, but I'll go with Yoshi Man? Probably. Yoshi Man. Thank you. Welcome in. And Avisi? Thank you also for the follow and welcome to the Foxfires. Go. Welcome on in everybody from Spoosh's stream. It is a whole playlist. It's all the VODs from this course that we've been running through. So we've been doing this every Tuesday since March, I believe. And we've been going through and learning and studying together, so. Avisi? Did I say that right? I don't remember which one was the second one that I said. Avisi, welcome in. But yeah, no, there's a whole playlist that you can go and check out if you are interested in learning how to draw and stuff. Again, I've been just doing this course for my own learning, but I have you guys to keep me going strong and staying to my course, because if it was just me, I probably would have given up by now. But I have you guys to keep me committed, so thank you for that. We are each other's art gym buddies, essentially. And also, Yuki Nanoda, thank you for the follow, and welcome to the Foxfires. Go. I don't know if I should use... Cone. Should I use the pause for cones now? I wanna get my own cone button. I have to animate it, but I gotta learn how to animate. Cool figure to use as inspiration. Apparently everybody knows who this character is, and I don't actually know the anime. Everybody's been saying it's Chitoge? Yo, bro, you hitting that art lesson tonight? You know it. Oh, it's Nisekoi? Fairly popular anime. Oh, I'm gonna have to look it up then. I've honestly, I had never seen this character before. And I feel like I know like a decent amount of animes. I wouldn't say that I don't know anime, right? So I don't know how it slipped through my radar, if it's pretty popular. It was just a really, really cute pose, so also her midsection is too long, I think. I think her chest is a little tall too. The shoes are very candy-esque, they're very cute. They got little bows on them. Little bows. Ah, English name is False Love. Yeah, I still haven't heard of it. Oh, I think I did her neck too slim in comparison to this one. Oh, yes, reminds you of the Animal Crossing 3DS design. Absolutely. I can see ya. I think this needs to go out just a little bit too. All right, should I compare kind of how close I was in the rough structure? Face first. Little long in the torso. One arm should be up a little bit more. And I think the shin's a little bit long. Okay, so now I'm gonna try to adjust it myself. So this is, remember, kind of like the exact same things that we were doing with the head, right? We're just taking the same concept and applying it more to the whole body now. It's closer. Much closer. It was like 2014, so who knows, maybe you were just busy doing it during that time. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I guess could have been. I guess I didn't really start watching anime until later too. Although, I mean, I feel like I should have at that point been watching things, but maybe I was just too busy watching more of the mainstream stuff. 2020 was your anime adventures. I feel like that would be the same for a lot of people. I'd say that was pretty close. I guess the one correction being my chest was very off. maybe I want to do the... Is it Nick or Nikki? I never know how to say the name of that game. And this is the first time I've had to say it out loud in front of people. Or Nick K? Nikki? Nick? I don't know. Nick K. Nicky. Nicky. Nicky? But thank you very much. I appreciate it. We're here to vibe. We're here to vibe and do dailies. Question? Yes, please. What's your question? My anime journey took me in the pit. In 2010, I haven't been able to escape. So please send help. Nah, you're good down there, Oz. You're down here with the rest of us. There's no escape. Accept your fate. Just, nah. It is a very comfortable pit. We have dakimakuras. All right, so now we did our very first rough block. So now we're just gonna... Again, we're not going like full... We're not trying to make it perfect. We're just gonna start refining shapes a little bit more, giving them a little more shape. Adding in that collarbone area. Into the shoulder. And I'm kind of even just skipping a little bit of a step here too. Like if you need to do another step where you add in your like cylinders and stuff more on top of these first building block shapes, definitely do that. So like you can add in another quick rough sketch even before adding kind of more of the details like I am right now. So if you need it, do it. Was massive? Oh wait, I think my first anime was Dragon Ball 1997 or earlier, not sure. Dragon Ball's a good one. Dragon Ball's a real good one. Was massive into anime from the 90s to late 2010s, and then I kind of fell off, but I still keep up with the industry stuff and behind the scenes, absolutely. Oh, tried to word best I could. When I finish a body, it's hard to see the angle of the pose in like the body when you can see the side. Would today's lesson fix that? Does make sense. I'll bring it up again in critiques time. Hard to see the angle of the pose. You can see the side. It is, side profiles do get more tricky, I would say, like especially like here in this hip, right? But you don't always have to have like using lines and stuff. So like you can kind of see when I constructed mine, right? I just ended up making a circle for that whole hip area, right? So you don't have to always be drawing like the exact, like the bucket and everything. You can just look at any piece of art and just make a shape, like just visually look at it and break it down into something that looks close, you know? I just did a circle, right? To start this piece. Does that kind of make sense, Blaze? So you don't have to always use exactly like the building block shapes that we talked about in the lessons. So if you do find it easier to just take that shape and make a shape up that best describes how that pose is, that is totally valid. Does that kind of make sense? And does that answer your question? My first anime was probably Dragon Ball Z, but I don't really count it since 2010 is when I started really venturing off. Yeah, I know, I'm the same way too, because like, I mean, technically I watched lots of like Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball, Digimon, Pokemon, all those things, and it's like, technically those are animes. But I would say my first real anime was probably Code Geass. Oh, I'm so sad about the new Code Geass. It started so strong and then it just ended so meh. I was so happy, and like the song is a banger too. Like the start of it, they could have hit that so hard, and then the ending just went, okay. Has anybody watched it yet? I don't really want to spoil anything in case people want to watch it, but... Yo, I used to draw Sailor Moon stuff as a young boy, but only for fun. It never stuck. Now I feel old. Ah, it's awesome though. I love that. Sad I never watched Code Geass, but I know a lot of people were excited about the new one. It was so good. It started so strong. And then I say there's a point where one of the characters goes to settle something with like the main character, and then they shot off a gun and then left, and then things resumed in that scene. And I was like, what? And then like another scene, like the scene continued playing and the other like main character just like peaced out. And then a little bit later they came back and I'm like, oh, okay. That was interesting. I don't know why they chose to do that this way. Okay. And then it was kind of just downhill from that moment on for me. That was the point. Everything leading up to that though, amazing, 100%, great. And then it just kind of started going, okay, well, you know, that was strange, but you know, okay, I'll push past it. And then it was some other things. I'm like, okay, this could get good again. You know, they could take it this way and that way. That's cool. And then it just kind of ended. And I was like, that was kind of lackluster, not great. All the ideas I had in my head of how things could have gone were way better than how they executed it. I don't know if they just ran out of time, so they just were like, we can't make it too long, we just end. But I wish it could have been better, because it started so strong. It was really good. Yeah, I always put a damper on the whole experience. Even as a Shonen fan kid, Sailor Moon designs were great. Oh man, Sailor Moon designs, amazing. Oh, of course, as you do. I like Sailor Mercury. Sailor Mercury was my Oshi. I liked her because she was smart. Makes sense, and I think it does answer my question. I'll try pointing out what I meant when we do critiques. Absolutely. For sure. Yeah, the Code Geass Rose. Rose of the Rebellion? Is that what it's called? The new one. it started so strong and it was so good. How did it go so bad in the end? I guess it wasn't bad. It was just kind of meh. Which just pulls down all the good, you know, that came before it. Like, I was like all the way up until that point, I was like, heck yeah, watch it. If you're a Code Geass fan, watch it right now. It's so good. Watch it. And then that happened. I'm like, okay, well, it's fine. We'll just see where this goes. And then now watching the whole thing, I'm like, I don't know if I can recommend it. Goku Black Arc, 1,000 times better in my head than the ending ended up being, yeah. Okay, we'll keep that in mind with the current pose to see how it works. I believe in you, Blaze. You got this. I need my... Need to go watch the original. People tell me it was good. I just never found a reason to be interested. Oh, Code Geass is amazing. I really, really love Code Geass. It's still one of my favorite anime, probably. You can always watch the movies too. So the movies cut out like a lot of the filler and stuff like that that's in Code Geass. And they did retcon a couple things that happened in the original anime, and supposedly the movies are the new canon. So there's like a couple of characters that like didn't end up dying or died in the original that didn't in the movies and stuff like that. So there's like a couple of things like that. But I'd say that like the movies are still pretty good. I mean, they just kind of, they speed line you through Code Geass. So that's always an option if you don't want to like take the time to watch all the episodes. The movies just kind of make it faster, so. It's always one of those kind of movies, good to know. Yeah, I didn't find the movies bad, so. It's just like, oh, okay, they did this different here and that there. Okay, that's, I guess. I like one of the characters they just made live, I think because they were like everyone's favorite. So they made that character end up living. Because people were like, her death was like meaningless. So I guess they just made her live. Ah, chickens! Hello, Natsumi-san. And then the resurrection is canon. Like I said, they said that the movies are the new canon. So there's like the movies, I think it's like 2 or 3 movies. And then Lelouch the Resurrection, right? I think is the movie add-on that they say is canon. And then there's technically the spin-off manga that I never read because people said it was bad. So I never read it. And then there's now this new Code Geass Rosé of the Rebellion that just came out. Hello. Welcome on in. Magic trick. You could do those into a chat. Oh, my goodness. Hi, Yogensha. Thank you for the follow and welcome to the Foxfires. Go, down. Where did Tega go? Vanished. Gone. Just like that. There really is Twitch chat magic. Need to be a little faster on these because we gotta start a lesson. Feel like I'm behind. Talk too much about Code Geass. You guys got me with my favorite anime. I also broke my phone somehow. Smoke bombs are dangerous, guys. Hello, Gloria Jets, welcome in. Today is the Windows Patch Tuesday. Good luck with that. That sounds kind of like a nightmare, honestly. Nightmare to me. All right. It's very rough. But we've done a warm-up. Not too bad. Ah, see, I did the leg. I knew the leg was not, it was too thin through here. I couldn't figure out. That's my correction. I should have marked that in a different pen, actually. Oh well. All right. Cool. Well, that gives us a little bit of a warm up. Hello, Artifacts. Welcome in. What if instead we just all went back to Windows 7? Feel it. Nisekoi rep, it is. Dang, this anime is popular. Apparently I need to watch this one. They're too hard, exactly. Do you have two models or do you transform? I see two different designs. Maybe you rebanded. So kind of yes and no. Just this last week, I came out with my new model here that you see. And I'm kind of doing this thing where I've always had kind of a white-haired LiLi and a orange-haired LiLi. And And I kind of want to do it as a thing where in the fall and winter, I stream with my white hair here. And then in spring and summer, I stream more with the orange hair model. Because a fox in the wintertime, it gets its winter coat, right? So I kind of like that idea of switching with the seasons. I thought that'd be kind of cute. So yeah, we have white hair LiLi right now. But fall is orange, it is true. But fall, I feel like, is more of like when things start to get snow. More than spring, I don't know. You aren't wrong, Artifacts. Love square, love octagon. Ah, it's one of those triangle rom-com. I love square, I love octagon, I see. I'd vote winter and spring for future years. I mean, we could. A pink one for cherry blossom season, that would be amazing. I would absolutely. I would love a pink-haired model. All right. I guess then if there's any art critiques, we'll work on them now. Let me just save. Did my warm-up from last week. So yeah, if there's art critiques, Blaze, I know you mentioned some. Or if there's no critiques, then I will just move along right into the lesson. Yeah, we get some variety. Yeah, it was like a thing because like with my white hair model, I had the ears, like the fox ears originally. And then I decided I just want them all the time because they're just too darn cute, right? How could I say no to the ears? Ah, posted, perfect. All right. Ooh, I like this pose that you picked though. I want to do it. I love this pose. This is a good pick though for a pose too, Blaze, because there's not a lot of clothing covering it, so you are focusing mostly on the body, which is really good. It is a very good one. Tokyo shirt with ears, Lynn. It's all the same drawing broken into steps at the bottom. Perfect. Yeah, no, steps is good. I love seeing them down at the bottom. And it's good that you can see your steps as well, too. All right. So this is by Lace. Meter. 887. Oh no, Twitch just gave me a 3-minute ad. Time to refresh. Wait, does refreshing get rid of them? Ears are part of how I see LiLi in my mind's eye. Yay! That makes me happy because I think they're cute. All right, so from Blaze here, I'll do my edits in blue since you have some red of your own on here already. Oh, nobody can give you a shorter one. Interesting. Life hack. Life hack by Yogensha. All right. So, I mean, to me, it looks like you are still getting the rough blockings pretty decently, and your heights and everything. I would say, again, paying attention to the different lengths of your lines, right? So don't be afraid to, after you draw your line, kind of do what I was doing, where take your model and then put it over top of the other one and observe where you've kind of gone wrong and stuff like that, right? Because like if you look at this femur, is it a femur? Thigh? Thigh bone? Thigh. Is femur your upper or lower? My brain. But anyways, if you notice, like, if we draw like the line straight across, right? We're gonna start there and end somewhere here, right? So already, your femur is right. Okay, the femur, you can already see on yours, it's much shorter and off on the pose as well too, right? And then the same thing from here to here. This one you did pretty good, right? So this one was actually pretty good. You just had it. So really making sure that this first step here that you do really lines up is crucial, right? Because these are going to be your very, very first foundation blocks, right? That's going to guide the rest of the art piece. So I'd say really making sure that you get them where you want them, right? And then again, if we did like two kind of landmark points here, right? And if we draw it across, we're gonna be somewhere here, right? So this, right, is gonna be your bucket. So see how your bucket starting point for that hip is very far off, right? Here, let me zoom in a little bit more so you can really see the differences in those lines and stuff, right? So you can like just start even, like if this is easier to just start with sticks, dots and sticks, and start there first, and then kind of like build from that, right? And build up as you go. So like, yeah, you can have the two here, and then again, we're gonna make a mark here, right? And then so we're just like a little bit above, right? And then about this distance apart, I'm just using my physical hand to draw the width here, right? And then it's like, okay, that's about there. And then those go down to here, right? So that might be an easier way for you to kind of get started on those first shapes. And then it would be like something like that. And then now, see how much closer it is to this red line, right? Because you were like, had a question mark here. But I imagine like you can see this bump here, right? But now that your hip is in the right place, and then this kind of chest line that I just roughly drew, right? You're much closer to getting that dip that I think you were like wondering where it was coming from. And then I would say when you're drawing your cylinders, I would say they might be like just, you're drawing them very straight. And like very much like, I guess like a toilet paper tube is like very straight all the way around, right? Try to remember that your tubes should be wider on one side. And in general, much thicker too. Much thicker. So you can kind of see. if you're going to be drawing those tube sections. Yeah, 100% try that. Seems way better to start. Absolutely, start with sticks. But yeah, and like the arms should be much wider. You're just drawing them a little too thin, and then yeah, try to remember they're more cone shaped because our arms are much thicker at the top than they are at the bottom. So yeah. And there you go, I can see your corrections are good. Yeah, try that first. Start with just getting the sticks out, because I think a really, really big part is finding those landmark points on your reference, and then being able to practice translating like the exact kind of length and stuff like that will help you out a lot. It'll give you like a very good, strong foundation, basically. Like you always want to take in any artwork, you always want to take the most amount of time in doing those first initial sketches and moving and making them. It's okay to make them messy and scrappy. Like they don't have to look perfect. What you're really, really going for is making sure you have things locked in where you want them, like making sure your eyes are proper width apart, or like, you know, the arms and legs are the right lengths and stuff like that. That's always going to be your number one focus first, and it's okay to spend a majority of your time really, really focusing and honing in on those lengths and proportions and stuff before going on. So I think I might have thought of the drawing them straight and thinking making them more cone round was another step or something. Ah, okay. No, you can make them cone shape. So you don't have to draw them straight. Better if you draw it like closer, because that's gonna be like giving you your definition of where to like add those outer lines and those finer details on top, right? So yeah, I think maybe you were kind of like mixing these two, maybe as like two separate stages, as drawing the straight and then drawing this as more an outline with a cone. But it's really just drawing like stick as a base, drawing the like cone shapes, and then you draw your final one over top. So you could like, I guess like skip essentially that one, right? I mean, you can just keep adding layers though, as many times as you need to draw it, so. Or I'll leave it here for your reference. If only I wasn't lazy. It does take a lot of work and effort, like any skill. Art is a learned skill. All right, I'm going to take a picture of this then, Blaze, and send it to you. Hopefully that helped a little bit. I think it'll mostly be for you is just, main takeaway is just really trying to work on getting those proportions and pieces in the right spot. And then I gotta find, I wanna see if I can find you the thing for line practices. Although your lines are getting better. I could definitely see a huge difference actually even in these lines compared to your lines from last week. Have you been practicing anything even on it? Because I actually can see, like these ones are actually looking pretty good. They're looking longer, more sketchy in the right ways. They're not too short, not too long. People are practicing. Been hard on myself to draw them longer. That's good, it means it's working, Blaze. Because I can see a huge difference. You are getting there. From last week to now, I can see a difference. All right, I'll post this in the Discord for you. Not a whole lot, but hopefully at least something to take away for you. Hello, Lunar. I will hydrate now and stretch. Thank you. Also, as always, enjoy your lurk, Lunar. I'm having a lovely day. Thank you for asking. About what I was saying earlier about the pose 2. The spot for the curve. For, this part? For this? This is just the butt. You can see the side of the body and the front, yes. So again, like you would have your kind of bucket here, right? It would actually be somewhere like that. Whoop. And then remember how Ilsham kind of talked about how some people will tend to forget about the butt? Because here's kind of like that bucket. And then it kind of has like the butt as like a side piece here, right? So that's what gives this part. And the other part is kind of more this front part, right? In here. And then the other little piece of the hip and the butt is kind of here. Looks large, like too much to one side. And then this comes up. Making a midsection. You could also kind of think of it as almost like high-waisted pants too, in a way. So I'd say for your model, because you put your hip way down here, right? That's causing a majority of the problem in it looking too wide. Because it should be coming in like this, and this is your hourglass more shape. So you're getting a little bit too much on this side as a result, and then this side as a result, right? So there's kind of more your building blocks, right? The square. Ignoring the breast. And do you want me to take a picture of this too? Like on this one, you could use kind of like this middle waist part as kind of like a angular marker. Never ignore the breasts. For now, temporary ignore. We'll bring them back, I promise. Sure. I'll just do a zoomed in so you can kind of see my guidelines over top. There you go. Like I said, posing is really difficult. It is really, really difficult. Like, I think it's the most difficult thing about art. In my opinion, I hate it. It's definitely something that I'm trying to get better at too. It doesn't get easier. doesn't get easier. It's because bodies are really complicated. They have a lot of pieces and turns and twists, and they can move in so many different angles and shapes and stuff like that. And everyone else's body is totally different as well too. So it's difficult. It's very tricky, and it will take a lot of time and practice for sure on it. But that's just how art goes. The more practice you do, the better you get. So, all right. Shall we move into our lesson for today? So, we have... Close up our warm-up. Alrighty. So, today's lesson... Like, comment, but never forget about the butt. Butt is also important. And it is one of the main things we talked about. Don't forget the butt. It is a thing that people and artists forget about a lot. Don't forget the butt. That is, people don't forget the breasts usually, but they do forget the butt, okay? Gotta add the butt. All right. So, for today, we are learning about colors. That is, we are starting chapter 4. Congratulations! We are at chapter 4. Inexcusable. Yeah, I could try posting about it in the Discord at the end. No worries, Blaze. Yeah, so we're starting colors. So the big idea here that's going to be in colors and stuff is make sure that you have an idea in your head. I know we talk about this a lot. Have an idea of what you want in your head before you start, right? So that's going to be kind of like what colors and mood you want for the piece, and lighting is a huge part. So I just kind of have these thumbnails of lead characters by Jessica Oyenhart as kind of an idea, right? So like colors and lighting can change kind of like the feeling that you want in a piece just on their own, right? So you can kind of see like in these Varus ones, you know, like the lighting with the bow, or even like in these like dark hallway, right? With shadows like creeping in versus like keeping the light on the arrow and to their face, so everything else seems to be, you know, hidden in shadows except for their face. It gives a much more kind of like ominous feeling and stuff. Like a lot of these are, again, there's like a lot of shadow. Their face is concealed by a lot of shadow here, right? And then your eye tends to be drawn to the light from the pool and stuff, and then like the glowing on the eyes and stuff. Or vice versa, like these feel much more ominous to me, right? To me, this feels more almost like heroic in a way. And we have a lot of just the lighting being focused on the face and the bow and the character, right? With the shadows more being to the sides, right? And it almost feels like more like a burst of light, or like almost like a heroic entrance to me. So like to me, if you're trying to go for this character is supposed to maybe feel a little more intimidating and scary rather than the heroic. So that's why they probably went with this piece, because it kind of, just on the lighting alone, it invokes more of that feeling in that pose and light work, right? And then the same thing can be said even for colors. So I think even the Oriana one here. So again, same thing with like the different lighting, giving different feelings. It goes for the black and whites. But for the lighting here, it gives like a couple of different color options, right? And I feel like the one at the top here, it gives it much more, like having the purples and reds being more prominent. To me, it makes this one feel much more regal. And then like these ones, they have more blues and purples, which still has the regal, but it has much more of a cooler tone. And to me, the cooler tone makes it feel a little bit more standoffish almost in a way, rather than the warm colors. The warm colors to me feel very inviting, right? Whereas like this might be like a very more like evil, like queen kind of vibes and feel. This one feels very much like, you know, you are welcomed by the queen and stuff like that, right? Kind of idea. And same thing with the other purple too. This one is kind of almost like a middle point, I think. Like they decided this was too cold, so they tried to warm it up a little bit, but keep some of those more blues. And maybe go with more like a galaxy theme, or give it like a nighttime feel, right? So you can affect even like the time of day, being like this is maybe like a early morning, whereas this is like an evening setting, right? Maybe this is like they're going more for an afternoon or something. But yeah, so like those different colors can give a huge difference in the final piece. And I believe they went for more of this first image. I think. I actually don't 100% remember the final one, but to me, that's the one that I would pick for her character. Yeah, so having an idea of kind of what you want before you start is very important. And that's why a lot of times artists will do these thumbnails, as an example, to kind of find what direction they want to go and what kind of lighting they want. Or even if it's not full-on thumbnails like this, artists will often like sketch the pose that they have in mind, for example, and then just like do a very, very rough color blocking underneath to try to figure out what kind of color or feeling they want for the piece. And you'll see that quite often they'll have like a very, very roughly drawn blobby version of the colors they think they'll use for the piece. So yeah, it's good to plan ahead. Now, we're getting into color theory. So Isham doesn't talk about this quite yet in their course package. I don't know if they I don't know if they're going to end up talking about it or not, but I think it's important to kind of learn terminology here early on when we're dealing with color. So we have the color wheel, and I'm just kind of going to go over basically the anatomy of a color wheel. So for the color wheel, you have your hue, right? So your hue is this outer ring. So going all the way around here, when you move this little slider in Clip Studio Paint, Hikaru! Hikaru Raid, welcome in, Raiders! How was your stream, Hikaru? Welcome in, welcome in. I hope you had a good stream. Yes, Foxfires, be sure to give Hikaru lots of love. They're playing IDV. We didn't get to IDV this week. I was very sad, but I was also very tired, so understandable. But did you get lots of wins in your games? I hope so. Hello Raiders, my name's LiLi, and we are doing some art study time. Right now we're just going over kind of starting color theory. It's gonna be very, very basic color theory for today, and just kind of going over some of the terminologies and such for coloring. So yeah, you're welcome to join us if you want to, but thank you again, Hikaru. Yes, so your hue is this outer ring. Let me make my pen a little bigger. So this outer ring here, when you slide it around, this is your hue. So your hues are basically your different colors in a way, right? Your red, yellow, blue, green, all the colors of the rainbow are what you pick in the hue. Then we have our saturation. Your saturation. So saturation is how much color you apply. Oops, my gap box was mixed. Don't worry about it. Hello, Hikaru. Thank you very much for the raid. I hope you had a good IDV time. Did you get lots of wins? All right, so our saturation is basically how much color you are adding in to your piece, which is when you move this little dot, right, that's in your color wheel. Move in a little bit, you can see it, right? This little dot, that's how you end up choosing your color, right, in Clip Studio Paint. When you move your dot left to right here, that's how you pick your hue. Oh, and one more other thing too, I would recommend, if you haven't already, changing your color wheel from a square to the triangle. The triangle is just technically a more accurate representation of this hue, saturation, and value. I believe we set it up at the beginning of this course, so I think most of you are on the triangle setup. But if you're jumping into the lessons midway or something like that, I would just recommend going from the square to the triangle. And I believe the button is somewhere down here. Yeah, here it is. This is bottom right-hand corner of your color wheel should have the little square versus triangle option. So yeah. So this is moving left to right on the color wheel. So hue, saturation, and then we have value. So value, in saturation, you can see like in this example, right? So we're adding how much of the color we want, right? So really high saturation here is going to be on the right-hand side of your color wheel versus low saturation being on the left side, right? So you got to see more of a visual representation of that color changing. So it's either just like a gray or really bright red, right? Why is the triangle better? So basically, I'll answer it in a second, actually, Blaze. We'll finish talking about value here, and then I'll talk about it, okay? I'll answer it in a moment. So the last section here is value. So value is how light or dark something is. Hello, Captain Corian, welcome in. So again, value is how light or dark something is, right? So you either have it close to the white end or close to the black end, right, of the spectrum. And so for value is going to be moving from the top here, top to the bottom. And that is how you choose your value. So this would be top to bottom of the color wheel, right? So we have the blue is like the hue, which is doing the outer ring. Saturation is going from left to right on the color wheel, and then value is top to bottom. So again, another visualization here on your color wheel. So that is how you basically pick colors using the color wheel. So now you asked me, why is the triangle better? So when you have the square versus the triangle, right? So we just talked about how our saturation, which is red, is technically left to right, right? So saturation only has like either there is saturation or there isn't saturation. So there's either color or no color, basically. So it only really has one point, which is that full saturation versus no saturation, which is just grayscale. So color versus no color. And then you can use whatever one you like, so it's not like a bad thing to have the other version. But then for value, right, you have 2 points. It can either be black or white, or top to bottom, right? So how it kind of ends up working on the square, you technically have it split into kind of like 4 points, right? And then you're kind of like, I don't know how to like do a visual representation. You're doubling over on the colors, essentially, if that makes sense. So everything from here to here is all gonna be doubled. It's just taking what's here and kind of like technically stretching it up on a square. It's just stretching and like interpolating these out on a square is kind of like all it's doing. So it's just it just has redundancy basically. Hue, saturation, and light in Photoshop. There you go. I like calling it value because that was the way I learned it. But yeah, light could be another way for it. I think people might use value over light because you might also end up talking about the light source, like as in your main light or secondary light. And maybe it gets confusing by using the light twice. So it's just a different word. There's also, I think it's like tone. Oh, what is it? Tone. I can't remember. There's another one. It's got like 2 T's and shade. Tone something and shade is like a kind of another version of it too. I just personally like hue, saturation, and value. That's just like how I learned it. But yeah, you'll hear these words with different names a bit. But yeah, so that's just kind of like why the triangle is technically a bit accurate, because it just doesn't have the redundancies. Because like, yeah, it would just have the point here would be 100% saturation. Point here would be 100%. It would be the exact same color, right? And this would be 100% saturation, right? So it's just kind of like redundant to have the same color all along one edge, right? Whereas this is 100% saturation, right? So it just removes the redundancy by having it as a triangle. Whoop. Hopefully that kind of helps see it. Hard to explain. So yeah, that is basically your color wheel in a nutshell. So you can go through in color theory and talk about hue, saturation, and value. Like there's huge lessons for each particular section. But we're just gonna start with what I think is probably the most important one of the 3, which is value. And today's lesson is just going to be purely only on value when it comes to color. So then we have value. So arguably most important part of coloring in art is done with value, because value gives the 3-dimensionality for our objects and pieces, and it's basically how light or dark the piece is, and it shows like the volume and the mass and shape of this shapes, right? And the reason why I say it's like probably the most important out of all of them is because you can have and create amazing art as shown by, Jessica's thumbnails. You can have amazing and beautiful art that is just purely values, and you can get all the information you need just from the values and lighting alone, right? Whereas I mean, you can have things that are like just purely one color as well, but dimensionality, three-dimensionality is just a very important part in art, right? So you can kind of see we have 3 different values here, like right at the bottom, right? So just by filling in the different sides of a cube, by only using 3 colors, or not colors. See, this is where art is, we call black and white technically shades. This is where the shades versus colors, right? Like RGBIV are your hue or your colors, and technically white, gray, and black, right? That spectrum is shades or value. So that's why you call them shades and not colors. So if you ever like hear somebody, well, actually black isn't a color, that's because it's a shade. Now you understand why like people will be all stuck up and say that, right? But yeah, everything's just still color. But yeah, so like you can kind of see just by doing these 3 colors on the box feels 3-dimensional, right? Like it feels much more like it's coming out of the page at you, just by adding in those shades as opposed to just having it as a bunch of lines, right? So yeah, value, aka brightness or light, gives 3D look to your pieces, right? So now we have the best part of any art journey. We have made it to the sphere. The sphere. You've probably seen this many times, but so we have a pure circle here, right? It is very 2D. It is very flat. There is not much happening. It looks very, well, flat. But if we add a light source to this sphere, or this circle, I guess it's a circle right now because it's 2D, right? If we add a light source to it, it becomes the sphere, or the ball, or whatever you want to call it. Right? So in adding whoa, it's a sphere. So this is, yeah, the exact same circle. It's just one of them has lighting applied to it and it has value, whereas the other just has a local color or a local shade, or just like one singular color, no light attached to it, right? And it just makes it go from 2D and flat into 3D with volume, right? And that is the power of value in color theory. So yeah, there you go, you can see, right? Makes it look much more like a ball rather than a flat disc that's on the ground, right? Or like a coin or something. So, with that, we can now get into the light. The light on the ball, right? So, with this ball, we have a light source, right? And then we also have it split into kind of 2 halves, right? If you look at this, it you can imagine like this bowl being kind of split into 2 halves, right? So we have the lighter portion being the light side. So this is where the light is going to be closest to whatever your object is, right? And it's going to appear much more brighter, lighter. The colors are going to be more clear and more vivid as well too. So you're going to see the more true color of whatever that object is, right? As opposed to, so like on this side is the light, And then on this side, you know, is more of the shadows. So where the shadows are, you're gonna have the color of the ball be much more muted, or have like a lack of kind of bright, vivid, highly saturated colors and stuff, right? It's gonna be much more muted and toned down, right? And that's because of those shadows, and because the light is almost like obscuring the other half. Hello, Kimsu. It is Color Theory Day. And Ishikun, welcome in. Don't go to the light. Well, in this case, maybe the light's not so bad. But yeah, so that's just kind of like quick wording of, you know, the light versus shadow and some of the differences being in the light. You know, your colors are going to be much more accurate with light on them versus in the shadow, it's harder to see. And I mean, you can probably even see this, you know, like when you're in Minecraft, right? And you can't see because there's no light, you're underground mining, and you can't tell if it's diamond or emerald because the color is obscured, right? Because there's no light. So you have to put a torch there and put light, and then you can see the more true color because of the light, right? Put it into Minecraft. But yeah, so that's just kind of like a rough rundown of the light and shadow. And now we're gonna get into terminology. Yay, lots of theory. So we first need to show our, I guess first we have like our light. Actually, I didn't talk about this actually a little bit here. When we're drawing light for art, when we're describing where our light comes from, I can speak English. We usually use like this cone or arrow type drawing. Some people will just like simplify it to like this, you know, kind of like a little happy face. But it's basically, you imagine like a cone, and you can draw the cone in different ways, right? If you're drawing this cone in 3D, right? So you could see like the lighting is technically coming out of the page a little bit with this cone, right? Versus this one is going into the page a little bit, right? Because you can kind of see the back of the cone, right? Or you could draw like the cone straight up and down, right? Oops. So this is going into the page, right? So yeah, if you ever see in some artists like to draw this little cone to make sure they don't forget where their lighting is coming from, right? Because like, again, when you're drawing sketches and your own artworks, you know, you are the god, right? Like you get to decide where your light's gonna come from. And sometimes when we're drawing in the middle of a piece, we might forget where our light is coming from. It's very easy to get sidetracked by details and stuff like that and forget where you decided where you wanted your light to come from. So you'll see artists a lot of the times when they are sketching, if you ever see speed paints, some artists will draw this like in their sketches and stuff, all right? And it's just a helpful reminder of where they are deciding to put their lighting from. So yeah, that's the cone of light, essentially. Hello, Cheese Wheel. Hello, I am welcome. Or am I welcome? Of course you're welcome. Welcome in, Cheese Wheel. Of course, of course. So yes, that is the lighting. Also, Cheese Wheel Lord, thank you for the follow and welcome to the Foxfires. Go. I don't know, should I do the pause for cones? I feel like it helps. All right, so terminology. So first of all, we have our main light. So obviously your main light is just gonna be the most important light or the strongest light in your artwork or your piece. So there are other, like you can have a secondary light along with your main light if you're trying to do like crazy different color compositions, you know, like you might have, you know, your strong light here and then maybe you have a secondary light coming in from this way, right? That like has a blue, and then that blue would add, you know, like a little, you got a blue secondary light here, right? And it's just gonna cause different lighting effects, right? So again, you're gonna have like different outcomes. But for right now, we're just dealing with one main light. But yes, you can have different lighting, add different lighting to your scenes, and you can kind of learn more about that if you're interested in it. Is photography is a great way to learn about different lighting setups and stuff. So if you're interested in kind of complicated and different lighting, that's a good way to go. I'm an artist too, welcome in. We're doing art lessons today, and we're kind of delving into a little bit of color theory stuff. A little bit of terminology for today. So yeah, the main light, basically strongest light in your scene. It's gonna be like the overall biggest factor. And a lot of times in anime lighting, it's a lot of the time it'll be like a top-down lighting. Is very common. Then we have the highlight. So highlight is where the light ends up being reflected off of the object. So not all objects will have a highlight. It's usually things that have a very reflective property, like the eyes, right? Like in my eyes, you know, I have my little heart highlights, right? And that's because eyes are very reflective of a material, whereas opposed to like a shirt doesn't often have highlights because most of the light just gets absorbed into it. But something like glass or even like latex or something that has like more reflective properties, will have that shine to it. Exactly. Eyes, hair, nails, leather. Exactly. Different materials have different properties, so not everything has a highlight. Just keep that in mind. Then we have local color. So local color is the base color of the object with no light influences at all on it. So you'll also hear like about artists, like when they're drawing or you see a time lapse, a lot of times they'll throw down a base layer of color. That is them adding the local color, or like what the colors should essentially be, with no lighting affecting them. So yeah, you can just see like for this, because we're doing this all about value for now to make it simplified, we just have a gray ball here, but you know, it could be blue or red or yellow, whatever your local color is. But just to keep things simple in this lesson for now, we're just focusing mostly on value right now. Yeah, so that's the local color. Then we have our mid-tone, right? So midtones are the tones that fall between light and shadow. So again, we talked about how we can cut this in half, right? And we're gonna have like light on the top side and shadow on the bottom side. Well, mid-tone are those areas of like gradation between those 2 points. And it's also can be known as halftone as well. I usually call it mid-tone, but I've heard halftone be said as well too. Which sometimes maybe that's easier, halfway between. But yeah, so it's just basically those gradations, or that like soft area between the two. So that is your mid-tone. Then we have our shadow side. So a lot of this is kind of more on the light kind of areas and sides of the piece. Then when it comes to the shadow side, we have first the form shadow. There's kind of 2 different shadows here. So we have form shadow. The form shadow is made from the curvature of the object. So that is the shadow that is on your actual physical ball here, right? So the part that comes around this half, right? That is the form shadow, and it's what gives it that like 3-dimensional form, right? It makes it feel like a ball, is that form. Then, this is made from the curvature of the object, yeah. And then we have the cast shadow. So the cast shadow now is what is projected by the object, right? Can you kind of see the difference between the two shadows, right? We have the form shadow, which is physically like on the object, and then a cast shadow would be like, a cast shadow is like when you're standing outside on the sidewalk and you see your own shadow on the ground, right? That is a cast shadow because you're standing in front of the sun and you're blocking the light to the pavement, and it makes the shadow of yourself, or like a hand puppet makes like a shadow on the wall kind of thing, right? Those are cast shadows. Whereas the form shadow would be the ones on your hand in the shadow puppet case that like makes your hand look like your hand to your own eye, right? Or the shadows like on the back of your body standing in front of the sun, it's gonna be all covered in light. But if you're standing looking at your shadow, like the front of your body is gonna be all in shadow, right? Does that kind of make sense? And then also when it comes to cast shadows, the lines when you are really close to the object, they're very sharp, as opposed to when you move further away from the object, right? They start to become more soft and blurry kind of looking, lighter. And that's just because you're now getting more spill, right, from the environment light. Because if all these little sun rays are coming in this direction, right, you're gonna start getting more spill happening, right? Where stuff kind of starts to fill out over here. Whereas like the rays that are right in front of here get completely blocked underneath this, right? So that's just why they tend to be softer as they move further away from like that main object or whatever it is that's blocking. So yeah, that's kind of the difference between form shadows, cast shadows. And then we have reflected light. This is one that I think is funny because when I got the ball lesson, nobody ever told me about reflected light. Reflected light is definitely something that I see get taught a lot nowadays, and I'm like, where did this reflected light come from? Is this new technology in art that we're picking up on? But yes, there's reflected light, and it makes sense as to why it's there. That reflected light is essentially light that hits the bottom of whatever the environment is, right? So it's hitting, like, for example, this white floor, right? The light goes past the ball and then bounces off of the floor and lights up the bottom of that ball, right? So you can kind of barely see it here, like this, just an ever so slightly lighter patch right underneath there, right? Hold up, do I need to be paying attention to this for shaders and stuff? I mean, it's very important, honestly, Beiju. It's all the same terminology. So it'd probably be good for you. It would help your 3D modeling stuff. But yeah, so that is reflected light. Because yeah, some of the light, goes past the ball, hits the environment, and then bounces back on the underneath side of that sphere. And this reflected light is often, it says, like, very diffused, and that's because it's already like, the light has used a lot of its energy already by hitting the environment, so it kind of bounces all over the place and it gets a lot more soft and not as apparent, right? And so yeah, that's that reflected light. And then often this reflected light will be whatever color, like quite honestly, a lot of the time the reflected light will be from your environment. So for an art case, it'll, like, if you're doing something like in the sky, for example, it'll often be like a blue from the blue of the sky. Or, if it's in a certain color of a room, it'll be like kind of that ambient room color will be this reflected light, right? So it's just a very, very subtle, and then it usually tends to be the color of whatever the environment kind of is. And that's just because it's the, you know, main light kind of hitting and refracting off of the environment and then lighting up the underside of the subject, right? So yeah, oh, and then there's specular reflections as well. So specular is just kind of like the other way where it's just, I didn't draw it on here, but it would be like the light bouncing off of the ball and kind of bouncing back to the environment. So if it was like a blue reflective crystal ball or something, you know, in the environment, you might get like a little bit of bounce back here kind of thing, right? You might get a little yellow or a blue spot, right? And that is just like specular light. A little bit more in depth, probably won't talk too much about that one because it's more a special case. Or if you have something like a crystal ball and you can see, like if you hold up like a crystal ball and you can see the environment, you know, reflecting from the ball, that is more of that specular reflection. Or like a mirror is like a specular reflection, right? Oh no, I think my monitor is messing with my example item. Heck. Yeah, so that is reflected light. Then the last one we have here is ambient occlusion. So ambient occlusion is the place where there is no light. So no light can reach the point. So for example, that would be like this little space right underneath the ball where it's sitting on top of the table, right? Like we can't see it, but it would be like the little footprint essentially of where that ball is sitting on the so-called table. And it would be like the darkest point of that shadow. So for us, a lot of the times that occlusion is quite often going to be our points of our line art, right? So I learned it too, and I think Ilsham talked about this even in their course too, and it's how I learned it as well. But if you take our, say your finger, and you have your finger pointing straight out, you know, like so. You have your finger, right? There's your finger, right? And you got the different joints. And you can physically hold up your finger and look. But if you curl in your finger, right? And you bring your finger in, you're gonna have, oops, these lines that go back to your joint, right? And those lines is ambient occlusion, right? So the reason that you can see those lines is because there's no light that can get inside of those little corners of your finger, right? And you're just seeing the little tiny shadow as like a line, right? And that is ambient occlusion. Or you can do the same thing where you take like a fist or something like that, and all the like lines between your fingers and stuff, right? It's because there's no light that can get inside of between those fingers and stuff like that. So those little edges are just kind of the edge of that ambient occlusion that you can see. So yeah, a lot of times for us, it'll be like our line art. And the ambient occlusion in our drawings as well is always the darkest shadow. So always keep that in mind when you're drawing those ambient occlusions. That is the darkest point when you're drawing. So in the same way that your highlight is going to be the lightest point possible. It's going to be the closest to the white end of your value, right? Or the top of your color wheel. Ambient occlusion is going to be the darkest point and the closest to black on your color wheel. And there's a lot of debate too about using pure white and pure black for your artwork when it comes to doing color theory. So there will be a lot of art teachers that will say, never, ever use pure white or pure black when you're drawing. And there'll be always exceptions to the rules. Sometimes like it's used for like statement and stuff like that. But if you were to ever use pure white or pure black, it's only ever going to be, for example, the highlight, which is the very, very highest point of that, brightest point of that object, or the ambient occlusion, right? Like if you were to assign a scale, your highlight would be the absolute brightest and your ambient occlusion would be the absolute darkest. And then that is it for terminology. There's a lot. There's a lot. So yeah, this sphere goes through most of the terms that we might talk about when it comes to drawing art. So it's good to know these terms because artists will honestly use them a lot. Again, mostly you'll use things like, you know, highlight or cast shadow, or even local color maybe, reflected light, and maybe ambient occlusion. Like those will be like the more popular ones. I would say like midtone. For anime art could get skipped more often, or form shadow. I think people just forget that it's called form shadow, and it's just like people are just like, oh, it's the shadows. But there is kind of like those separations between form shadow and cast shadow. But yeah. So all of this is uploaded into the Discord. My little, thank you for the hydration, I need it. All of these notes are in the Discord. I should have said that at the beginning. But yeah, all of these notes are in the Discord for you guys to see. These are just like my notes that I take from watching Ilsham's course for my own benefit and learning. And yeah, you guys are more than welcome to have them as well. I don't mind. The learning just helps. Spread the learning love. I could definitely, maybe I will just post just this one with them all exported, but I have it as a Clip Studio file, so that way you guys can just turn these layers on and off on your own for your own learning and going through. But I will just upload this one just as a PNG for people to visually see too, because I think this gives a majority of today's lesson in just this one image. We're gonna call it color. Oop, color theory prep value terms. There we go. All right, I'm gonna upload it now before I forget, because I will forget. And then we'll kind of go into what is gonna be the homework essentially for this lesson. And then it'll basically be a class. Never forgore. I forgore a lot. Classic forgore. Yeah, so that is the sphere. And then Isham's lesson and homework is to take this shirt that they drew and basically apply your values onto the shirt. So I'll kind of go over a little bit of, I guess, the steps. And I kind of like Isham just kind of jumps in and starts drawing. And I kind of made almost like a little bit of like a step-by-step of roughly the steps that they kind of take. So the steps are 1, find your lighting. For your piece, right? So they drew it in for us, so it's already there. And then we want to add our local color would be the second. So add your local color or a base. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna switch to our ice cream. And I'm gonna make this, I'm going to add the, what is it called? The lighthouse to the line layer. All right, we need a picture of things. The picture is there. It should be the top layer in the lesson plan that I had. You should have this image there that you can turn on. So I'm just gonna make a lighthouse layer, a reference layer for that layer, and then we're gonna add. Oh, let's not have black. I'm gonna choose like a medium gray. Again, you can pick a color, but we're keeping things simple right now. Again, we stick simple. We're only gonna do value. We're not adding any hue or saturation. We're gonna pick like a medium gray color, and we're gonna draw around the shirt. Helps to draw on a separate layer. And not on your line layer. There we go. So yeah, make sure that your base layer is underneath the line layer. I'm like in the way of it. Base layer is underneath this line layer here. And then I put the color on the one underneath it, right? So there we go. We added our base. Then number 2 or number 3, we are going to add form and cast shadows. Of like items before we went to this. Of items. I don't know. You seem to have worked it out though, so I'm sure it's good. All right. So now we're gonna add our layers. So what I'm actually gonna do is, you can see this is my base layer. It's like right next to my shoulder there. I'm kind of in the way of my layers here. Wait, I can do this, LiLi. Wow, who would have thought? Now you can see my layers. So this is my base, right? I'll even layer it. Base, local, color. And then this is my homework lines. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump back down to the base local color. I'm gonna make a new layer with the new layer button. And I'm going to use the 2 little squares here. And that is a clipping layer. So I'm just gonna make the clipping layer attached to this bottom, which means that I can't draw outside of this shirt now, right? Like if I scribble over this, it just means that it's only gonna draw where that base color is underneath it. Beauty of clipping layers. So I'm gonna make a clipping layer onto my base local color, and we're gonna draw now our cast shadows. So cast shadow, for being a shadow, we need it to be darker than our base color, right? Where's clipping layer? Missed it. It is this little one next to your lighthouse. If you know where lighthouse is, it's the 2 squares that kind of have overlap each other and have dotted outlines. So yeah, we want to pick up our local color. I have a color picker. I don't know what the shortcut is for color picker. It's just on my pen. I have it set to be my pen button. You might have to Google where it is for your own, because I don't know where it is. But yeah, I'm just gonna color picker my base color, and then go down to my color wheel And I'm just going to move it slightly darker. I always have been told kind of like 50% darker is a good kind of general thing. So like from where it's marked, if you go to the middle point, that's a good starting point. I've always been told with shadows. I always tend to go like a little bit on the lighter side. You can kind of see what it looks like. But yeah. So, and now I'm gonna give a huge discretion on this. Is it Alt key? It is Alt. It's Alt here as well. Thank you, Artifacts. Color pick goes hold Alt with the brush selected. It did the same thing in Clip Studio. Thank you, Artifacts. Another question. When I clip layer it, it turns transparent. Are you clipping a new fresh layer on top of the base? Or are you clipping the base onto something else? We want a new layer above the base layer. So this is a fresh, clean layer. It's got nothing on it. And we're clipping that onto the bottom one. Got the layer, no worries. All right, so huge disclaimer here. I am learning like the rest of you guys. So Isham is going to be able to draw a finished final render piece that's gonna look way better than mine. I have not done this yet. This is my homework. So I'm with the rest of you here. But I'm gonna do my best to roughly, hopefully draw something that looks half decent at least. But yeah, so first we have our cast shadow that's gonna be made by the chest, right? So don't kind of like when you were just doing these first initial, like don't worry too much about your folds and your creases. Again, we want to start big in the same way that we talked about the body proportions and stuff. You want to start large and then work your way to render down essentially and make things more precise as you go. Right now, you just basically want to do a very rough idea, right? And also you want to use a rough or a hard brush right now, as opposed to doing something like some people, a lot of like I think new artists, when they get to drawing shades, they start with like an airbrush and they think using the airbrush is the right way to just make shades. It's better to start with a hard brush first and then add minimal airbrushing, because airbrushing is technically only ever used for like when those cast shadows are kind of fading away. So it's very minimal in compared to a majority of the shape and forming that you're going to be doing. And the airbrushing will be more important in, yeah, like doing more final rendering and little tiny pieces as opposed to fully painting. So, hello, Amari and Coloso Book, welcome in. So avoid using the airbrush. We're going to be using it very sporadically through the whole thing. So yeah, use a hard brush. So you can just use your mapping brush. I got so behind everything, I might as well start the study series again. I mean, the study series are just here for you to go back and look at any point, right? So even if you fall behind or it's like, oh, I just really want to work on heads or something like that, you can just go back and rewatch any of the VODs and just focus on the parts that you want to study, right? That's the best part about art is you will rewatch the same art videos a million times or the same art topics over and over and over again. So, yeah, study's going good today though. Yeah, I love it for that. It's very helpful. You have no idea how thankful I am for that. Oh, I'm so happy then. I'm so happy it's helpful to you. I'm glad it's useful. So yeah, so if we have this, right, this is going to be the chest. So the light is going to be more apparent on the top of the chest, and then underneath there's going to be more of the kind of rounded shadow underneath, right? The breasts. You can even see it on my shirt. Ta-da! Right? And then we're also, there's no head here on this t-shirt, but we're just gonna pretend that there is a head there. So you would see a head-shaped cast shadow, right? It would be something like that because this lighting is coming from behind, right? So then their head would create like a form, something like that. Oh my god, the list was so hard to find from before. I'm sorry. Actually, I think it is also pinned in the Discord too, if you need it. In the pinned messages in our Coloso channel, the art playlist, I believe, is also pinned there too, if you ever need to find it again. All right, so yeah, so there's a cast shadow from under the breast area, and then a cast shadow from the head. And then we also want to do our form shadows, right? So we're gonna start large kind of first and then work down into the shapes. So if we're looking at kind of this whole body as entire piece on its own, right? We're gonna kind of have this whole area is going to end up being kind of cast in shadow, right? Like if we took this whole piece as one, the art or the light is on this side of the body, right? And then kind of like roughly from the midsection over is going to be more of those shadows, right? Then we can look at, well, there's like the midsection, which we kind of took care of right here. We also have the arms are kind of like two tubular structures as well, right? But this form, shadow, is already in the cast shadow, so that one's already kind of taken care of. But this arm, right, if we imagine it as a cylinder, right, that has three-dimensional depth to it, we're also gonna get like kind of shadowing on this half of this lower arm, right? Something like that. Something like that. LiLi, wait! What is it, turtle? I have an important question. What is your very important question? Pressing, urgent. I'm hydrating. All right. And then that kind of takes care of. When was the last one of these? Wait, I hydrated. I literally hydrated while you were questioning me. But I hydrate again. Extra water is always a good thing. All right. So there we have kind of cast shadow and some form shadows, right? Very roughly, because again, we're starting large and then we want to work and narrow our way down in on the piece, right? Then, so yeah, think big. We want to think, yeah, the chest, the head, the body, got all that. Then we can start doing smaller forms of shadows. So this is kind of where we can now start to look at more of the little pockets and divots and stuff, all brought out by, you know, these folds. So now we can start adding more of those smaller details and little where parts where the folds now, right, are going to be creating cast shadows and form shadows. So now we're starting to get a little bit more granular with it, right? And this is where you can kind of maybe clean up a few of those lines. The edge of the shirt here is gonna get like, have a bit of a roll to it, right? Underneath the body. Maybe pull some parts around. So this is where it starts just becoming a lot more artistic-y choice, kind of, in a way, and trying to find out what looks good to your brain, and kind of like, you know, using the practice of our folds and stuff, knowledge of how those folds turn out, cleaning up anything. So yeah, it's just basically adding in more detail and just refining. Figuring out like if some places look too bland or something, maybe adding in a wrinkle here and there can help break it up. It's just really down to this part becomes very artistic in a way. Artistic choice and kind of practice. So I'm just bouncing back between using the C key. So the C key is my, sorry, this would be, I think it's actually here. The C key is my eraser tool, basically. It's switching between the color that I'm using and my transparency. So that's just how I'm like able to quickly erase and draw things. So I'm just toggling, pressing C, whether I want to erase it or add to it. And I'm just kind of like filling in these shapes. And I'm kind of making some areas sharp, some areas smoother. Based on where I think they might like pop out and stuff like that, right? Then we'll also have our cast shadows. Does your pen have an eraser button like a normal pencil? It does, but I rarely use it. I will use it a lot of times when I'm writing, which is quite funny because I'm just used to when I'm writing, I spin around the pencil and I erase with the back of the pencil. But when I'm doing art, because I'm switching back and forth so much, it takes a lot of time to spin your pencil around, erase, and then go back to drawing, right? Whereas opposed to just flipping, I don't ever have to move my hand, right? Right? So like, if I'm doing this, I can just flip back and forth between, like, very quickly, right? So it's just a time-saving point at that point, because like I don't have to move my hand. It's already on the keyboard next to Control-Z. I just have C is really close right there. I find C is easier than pressing E. E also brings up your eraser tool, but C will keep the same feeling and texture because it's using the same pen to use it. So that's why I prefer to use C, which cuts away. Yeah, I use mine a little more just because of using pencils. And again, that just it comes down to mileage and practice and using it, right? And because I have like a ton of commissions to do and stuff, like I want to draw art as quickly as possible. So hotkeys become a big, big part of your workflow because they save you a lot of time, right? Than having to like I should get used to doing Control S to save. Because that's a hotkey and I always still go file save. But I should just Control S because again, it's faster. So it's just a matter of like, do I want to be faster? Yes, I should learn this hotkey because it will make my workflow faster, essentially. All right, so we have basically our form shadows here. And then there's also the kind of form shadows that are in the shadow area in a way. So you can actually we'll do basically, we're gonna make the cast shadows. Remember how the cast shadows have a little bit more of a softer edge to them? We're gonna go through and we're gonna do the cast shadows here first. Hello Shade, welcome in. Toolbox console is a macro master. I picked one up for editing and my workflow has been never been faster. Yes, that is a good one. That's why I like the Cintiq or the Cintweak. Basically it put my keyboard on top of my Cintiq. So then I have like all my keyboard hotkeys just at the top and I just basically rest my hand right on the keyboard while I'm drawing. Cintweak is an amazing tool for you people out there that have really big pen displays. Cintweak, get one. I used to use the remote, but I like the keyboard so much better because like a lot of the time when you're drawing art, you have to like name layers and stuff like that. So you need the letters from the keyboard anyways. And then I just became like, it's just easier to use the keyboard than it is to use the little like express remote that they give you because like you're gonna have to be typing a keyboard anyways and it's just faster to use a real keyboard. So yeah, get yourself a Cintweak, set it up on the top of your Cintiq and then attach your keyboard to it that way. It's amazing. Yeah, no, it's good to ask, Blaze. Valid question. All right, so I'm gonna just choose the soft. So again, because we have cast shadows, we're just going to, again, you don't want your, you don't want the airbrush to be too big. You want to keep those forms relatively soft. And I might actually increase my hardness here a little bit. So I just increased the hardness on the brush just a little bit here on my airbrush. This is the point where we're using airbrush more. And again, I'm just gonna bounce back and forth between making the brush bigger, smaller, and kind of rounding out some of these shadows here. And you kind of are, when you're doing it, you're keeping in mind the size of like the shadow and stuff too. So like on these smaller creases, you know, I'm gonna use a much smaller airbrush to soften these out, right? So we have the cast shadow here. Fading that one out a little bit. And then maybe we have more of this cast shadow coming down through here. You know, much softer. Some of those kind of like wide areas, right? We're just softening up some of the areas. Making it like a little bit more believable, right? A little more realistic already by blending kind of those soft and the hard edges, right? Makes it look a lot more realistic already. Then yeah, so I kind of talked about earlier about how we have the kind of the shadows in the shadows as well. So you can pick up, I'm gonna make another layer for these. You can kind of pick up the dark color and then move it down even just a little bit, just to add some of those, again, hard brush, kind of add those darker areas and form shadows back in again, just to give it some more detail, right? Did you say we are keeping your brush down constantly or are more rapid strokes? I do lots of like kind of rapid strokes everywhere, I guess. I'm just kind of like filling in the shapes, erasing things I don't like. Maybe adding in, you know, like little different shapes and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's more rapid. I don't know how to quite describe what I do. But yeah, I'm like bouncing back between kind of making different shapes and blending them out. And I mean, this is rendering, you know, like it's adding all these pieces together in a way. You're kind of just like making a bunch of different shapes that you think look good, and it's kind of random. But you're also trying to apply like, oh, if this was a fold, you know, we'd have a down triangle here that's going to be darker versus this part is going to be out and more touching the light and stuff. And don't be afraid to like jump between layers and stuff too, you know? Because I do one area constantly down, try to keep some same pressure to it. It looks like the same shade for the shadow reflecting, but then hit Control Z and it's gone. Do one area constantly down to try to keep the same pressure. Oh, like you don't have to as much worry, like, because you're going to be using a you're kind of like just feathering. You're mostly just feathering like this. This is kind of like the strokes I'm doing for the airbrush. I'm cleaning up. And you know, like if I want to erase more, I'm gonna add a little bit more pressure. Whereas, you know, if you really want to erase it, you add a lot of pressure and it's going to make a really strong line. Whereas like if you're using a lighter stroke and you just kind of keep going over and fill and erase and fill and erase until you kind of get those shapes that you want. So it is a lot more like feathery strokes, I guess. Mm-hmm. Does that kind of help? I think that's what you're trying to like ask. Whereas like that's for the airbrush. Whereas like for when I have the full pen, right? It's kind of constant pressure. So you can add a little bit more pressure or make the pen a little bit bigger, right? A lot of times when I'm filling in these, I'll make the pen bigger so I don't have to push as hard to get a thicker line. And then I'll just press C and, you know, kind of erase maybe the messier lines and keep like triangle and then like go over that corner to fill it and re-erase to make a triangle. That's kind of like how I make those shapes, right? Like, because if I made a triangle like this, I got these round bumps, right? And it's not very sharp, so I just clean it up by switching to C and taking off. And then now I got like more of a sharp triangle shape, right? Yeah, for the airbrush, yeah. Then there you go. There you go. So that's kind of like a first pass, I guess, of like your cast shadows and a little bit of some form shadows there. And then we basically add in our occlusion. So number 4, add occlusion. So your ambient occlusion. So remember, your ambient occlusion is going to be the darkest point or the darkest shadow from your piece. So you can pick up like even from, it has to be darker than these ones, right? Like these little form shadows, these mini ones we added for the cast shadows, or not the cast shadows, I guess they're cast shadows of like kind of the armpits and stuff here. Those are going to be Sorry. I started drawing because it looked funny because it was all one shade. These are going to be even. The occlusion shadows have to be even darker than those, right? Hello, Fox. Welcome in. What a weekend. Still loving the new model. Thank you, thank you. Went over boba, was very disappointed. Oh no! So I had to go back out to get even more boba and food. I like the way you think, Fox. Yeah, shadows and lighting. We're doing our first color theory lesson for today. Yeah, so yeah, for the occlusion shadows, yes, remember it is the darkest dark. So we can basically pick up from here, which is the darkest shade that we have so far, and then just go even darker than that. So again, I just move it like about 50% down again. And then I'm gonna make a new layer just so that we have it and clip that down as well. Just so we can see the different layers that we're adding on top of this, right? Also, Spoopy Dance, thank you for the follow and welcome to the Foxfires. Go now. Color theory can also get their boba wrong. Fair. So yes, again, occlusion shadows are basically all the points that the light can't reach, right? So this is going to be, they're very, very small shadows, right? We're doing very, very small. And a lot of the times these shadows are going to end up being where kind of like our lines are already existing, right? So the lines in themselves can kind of be a bit of an occlusion shadow. But for us, it's going to be right in like these armpit areas, right? We're going to have a lot of dark kind of following these lines. Maybe some little triangle pockets. And it's just gonna start to kind of add in even more of, giving it even more form or shape as well, right? It's really like, I find as soon as you start adding more of those like occlusion pieces, it really starts to make your art piece kind of pop, right? It's gonna be down in here, you know, you're gonna have really dark point, maybe in here a little bit, kind of right underneath this shirt, you know. Yeah, so very sparingly, but like look how much like in those little pockets and corners, right? It makes it pop. I should be layering, naming these. So this is occlusion. These are form and cast shadows. Form shadows. 2. All right. Right? So here you can see like we're building up more and more layers, right? To make it more dimensional. At this point, like those are kind of like the main shadows applied to it. But at this point, it's just gonna be basically rendering and making it even more refined by adding in those kind of midtones and halftones and stuff like that, and giving even more color and variance into the piece. And it just makes it more and more realistic the more of those that you kind of add. So 5 here, step 5. It's just going to be rendering. So you're going to kind of add more halftones, I guess, kind of like. Or midtones. So actually this was kind of technically more of a midtone that I added in here. So maybe I'll call this midtone. I kind of got ahead of myself. I would call this more of a midtone. All right, so, and then the halftone goes for both sides too, right? So we can add some halftones more like in this light area that we like kind of haven't touched yet, right? So if we pick up the main color with our Alt, and then just pull something down a little bit darker, but we don't want it to be as dark as our cast shadows, right? We're kind of aiming something in the middle of these two shapes for our midtone, right? And for this, I might use more of like a softer brush as well too. So you might see me switch into using more of this soft round brush as opposed to the hard brush. And these brushes just have like a little bit more opacity to them. Hello, Mythico, welcome in. So you might find even that might be a little bit too dark. Ever so lightly. Again, it's just kind of playing by ear, honestly. And kind of like layering things up. Yeah, didn't like it there. Erase it a bit. Is that what rendering makes you feel like? Tell me how you really feel. Yeah, this is kind of mid-tone is what we're doing right now, or just adding basically more rendering and layers and giving more depth to our shadows, right? By adding some midway point shadows. So we don't want to go, again, as dark as our collision shadows or as light as the lightest color, which is like our base color right now, right? We don't want to go lighter than this. Because we're just drawing a shirt, there's no like highlight on it, right? It's all light is being absorbed. So there's nothing reflected back because it's not a reflective t-shirt material. So we don't want to go any lighter than our base gray, right? And then, yeah, you can switch between your airbrush and your airbrush, your soft brush, your hard brush. You're just kind of using all of them with each other to paint this out. I was painting on top of the occlusion layer. Oops. Oh, back to mid-tone. And yeah, this is all just, I am just drawing based on feel and what I think looks nice. So there is no particular rhyme or reason why I'm doing things. I'm just like, yeah, it looks good. I'm doing it. I just found your channel and it's helping me quite a bit. Do your live streams stay rewatchable? Yes. Is it Ramonemi? Ramonemi, if you use my VODs, there is my VOD channel there, but if you use exclamation point learn art playlist, learn art playlist, there we go, Gigi's got it. That is all of my art playlists from beginning to end as I've been working through this course on Coloso. So yes. Feel free to check out any of the other lessons from there. Some are definitely more helpful than others. Sometimes I'm more tired, sometimes I'm better at teaching, but they're all there. Of course, I'm glad they help you out. Like I said, I just want, I like that, you know, teaching art, I like that it could be like a free resource, you know, especially for people like nowadays in this day and age, it's wonderful because like with YouTube and everything, you know, art is so easily accessible compared to how it used to be. And I really, really love that. Add in darker here. I'm just adding like kind of on those cast shadows. A little bit darker in the where it's closer, right? To the head and stuff. Blend this out a little bit. Oops. I like the idea of, you know, art being accessible to anyone regardless of their income, I guess, right? So if me learning can help somebody else learn, I'm thrilled. Also, Yuppers Poppers! Amazing name. Thank you for the follow and welcome to the Foxfires. Go. I love that name. Yuppers Poppers. Heckin' best name. Just making some of this area a little bit darker, just to accentuate it a little bit more here. And again, I'm mostly, now that I'm in rendering, using more light, feathery kind of strokes. So we were talking about that. And, you know, I might go over areas that, like, I had before that, you know, I've changed my mind on them, and I'm like, oh, I want it to be darker here now. Don't be afraid. Change your mind. It can happen. It's just art. You can draw over things that you've already drawn. It's scary because it feels like you're going backwards, but don't be afraid of going backwards. Sometimes you have to move backwards to go forwards. It's like when you get your car stuck, you know? Don't be afraid to go in reverse. Back yourself out. Speaking of, I'm looking for any way to have an experienced artist provide a more personal one-on-one feedback, not for me and not for free. Would you have any recommendations? Like for mentorship type things? I know there's like a lot of artists will do mentorship type things on Patreon a lot of the times. So if you do find artists that you really like, then you could always check to see if they have a Patreon. And then some of them will have like a mentorship tier that you can pay for and get advice that way. But yeah, I can't think of any like specific artists. I've changed my mind, but I've lost my way back. That's okay. That's okay, Blaze. I do that all the time too, don't worry. And sometimes I'll be like, dang, shouldn't have done that. It looked better before. Well, this is my grave. I've dug it. I've had that experience many times. But don't worry, we're just practicing, right? Like there's no no need to be in a rush, in a hurry. You know, it's just for your own eyes. Don't have to worry at all. And again, this is something that I feel like you can't really 100% teach. As much as I would like to say that there is some secret to drawing really good shadows and shades, I don't think there really is. I think all artists are just kind of making it up as they go, and then as they do more practice and more drawing, they go, ooh, like your brain makes a little dopamine zap and goes, ooh, I like that. And then you learn, ooh, I did that on that last piece that I did and it looked really good. I'm gonna try to do it again on my next piece. And then you just kind of keep collecting those little brain zaps, and then it eventually gets better. The situation is a bit tricky because without going into detail, the person needs a patient mentor to accommodate their needs. Yeah, it's definitely hard for sure. And that's kind of like also I try to just give like, that's why we have like the critiquing times, right? Where I can try to just give little bits of advice here and there. Because mentorships can be expensive, right? And, you know, people are also at different points in their art career as well. But that's where definitely like classes come in handy, because you'll have a teacher, and even though the teacher is split up amongst, you know, maybe 30 students or so, you do still have a time commitment. You have a point where you have to sit down, draw, and learn. That's why I have these courses at the same time every single week, right? We have a class, essentially. We are in a class together. So you have to come, sit down. It makes you be, it holds yourself accountable, right? By being there. And then, to the teacher, even though it's not maybe necessarily like one-on-one per se, you do still have an allotted one-on-one time that can help. Even if the teacher is split between maybe 30 people, you do at least have some chances to get one-on-one time. So classes, I think, are really good in that aspect. But yeah, the whole mentorship, you can also sometimes reach out to people who may not necessarily like have a Patreon with mentorship tier, but sometimes artists are willing to be like, okay, I'll like sit you down for, you know, 3 classes, this is my rate or something like that, and then you can get a mentorship that way. Or sometimes artists will just do it for free, and maybe you just have like a couple of art pieces that you want critiques from your mentor or something. Some are willing to do that for free. It's all kind of different per artist. Yeah. Isn't that point of art making up as you go? Absolutely, Chance. Brain needs more zaps. Got it. Need a taser. And I think too, when you're rendering, it can be tempting to also get kind of lost in details as well. So that's where having like a small thumbnail in the corner can also be really handy. Having these windows like here in the top right of my screen is good because it forces you to look at the overall picture, right? When you have it really up close in your face, or you're like zoomed in working on a specific area, you can get really lost in those details. And it's very important to stand back and look at it as if you're looking at it with fresh eyes. So that was like, remember when we would flip the canvas? We can do that to gain like kind of like a fresher perspective on the art, right? Or looking up at this little tiny thumbnail will help you as well too. Thank you for the advice, that really helps. Of course, I'm glad it helps. I'm sorry, like I don't know of any people out there that do specific mentorships because I have too much social anxiety to go ask for a mentor. So I don't look for them. But I do know that they do exist out there, and a lot of the times it's through an artist's Patreon that they will do them. The other hard part is finding an artist who is also free to take them on too. Also, Ramonemi, thank you for the follow, and welcome to the Foxfires. Go na. Oops. Wrong color. But yeah. There you go, you can see, right? Like we're already kind of starting to look more natural in a way, right? Do, 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 do. Natural. Or I guess more, maybe natural's not even a good word. More completed. More varied. More, I don't know. More something. Oops. All right. That looks pretty okay. Oops. I was trying to make it bigger and I was making it smaller. I know Isham brought up too in their course, like you want to be careful that you don't make your brush too large and you lose kind of these shapes, like because if you make it too big, you know, like then it shows that the light is coming like underneath the breast shadow here, right? Which is not what you want. You do want to keep those hard shadows there, You're just kind of softening them for the cast shadow. There we go. I'll probably leave mine about here, basically. So once you're kind of done with your rendering and adding in a little bit more shape and form and excitement into that kind of clothing, you kind of want to do one extra pass of your occlusion again. So just kind of 6, whoops. So this is just to make sure. So 6, go back, re-add occlusion. So it's just a small check, and it's just, again, to make sure that when you added all these new lines and shapes and stuff like that, it's just double checking that, you know, your darkest darks are still just gonna remain and you didn't kind of lose them in your rendering, right? Because you may have touched over some. And you might just need to bring back some of these shapes again. So again, just kind of going back through and re-darkening some of those main areas. And I accidentally drew some highlights on the occlusion, so please ignore that. Yeah, just kind of re-darkening some of those stand out kind of points. And then after that is going to be erasing line art, actually. Or soften it. So now we can go to our lines. Dance. We can go to our line layer here. And actually you'll notice now that we have added in all those occlusions and occlusion lines and shadowing, right? Like we can pretty much erase our line art. Like I can turn this layer off completely and it still looks like a shirt. Like it has the form and strength on its own to stand without having those line arts, right? So that's how you know you got good shapes in there going, right? So what we can do now is we can still keep some of them, but we can go to our line layer here, and I'm just gonna use a soft brush again, maybe turn down the hardness a little bit. And I'm just gonna start erasing and softening up some of these lines like here and stuff like that, right? And we're just gonna start making them a little bit less visible, right? And you can keep them, you know, in some areas. Maybe some of the ones where they kind of stand out a little bit too much, you know, just knock them down a little bit. Some of the gradations. And just kind of ease them back. Doesn't have to be all of the lines, just any ones that you see kind of stick out a little bit too much for your liking. Something like that. Maybe this one, maybe I'll erase a little bit of this occlusion. Kind of made it a little too dark, I think, here. Blend that guy in. But yeah, just like that. And then you have a finished, fully rendered t-shirt. Ta-da! So that is your value lesson, basically. And again, yeah, you can go back in and redarken occlusions if you need it and stuff like that and retouch up and clean. But yeah, and you can basically, in the rendering stage, you can take as long or as little as you really want. So if you want something that is that super hyper realistic artwork, you know, you're gonna be spending a lot more time really refining, getting those shapes like exact, right? Whereas if it's something more like an anime character, you know, they're kind of more 2D, like especially in like animation specifically, because there's not a lot of time. Like you have to draw a ton of frames to make it moving, right? So a lot of the times, like you're just doing very, very one quick block of a cast shadow and a form shadow, right? That first step is basically as far as you go when it comes to like animating. Whereas, you know, when you're drawing like a full illustrative piece, you're gonna be adding in more of the rendering and stuff because you're spending and taking your time because you only have one frame and you want it to look as beautiful as possible, right? Or as accurate and stuff as possible. So you spend more time in the rendering, and the rendering stage is just like, you know, when you feel like it's done kind of thing. So glad I only have to worry about color and lighting and not the shapes of things in my art. You're like a wizard to me. That's good. That's good. That's good. I'm glad it like makes more sense, hopefully, to you. Because that is honestly like when you're looking at drawing and shading, I guess, for your art, it's not that you're adding in random bits of shade in different places. It's really about understanding basically the form and then like applying light and shadow to make something look more three-dimensional, I guess, right? That's like the best way to kind of look at shades and value, right? So we just basically have step one here, adding our base, or I guess step one is find your lighting source, where you want your light to be coming from. And then again, just adding those forms and shadows. So like this, for like an animation, this is probably like as far as in-depth as you go, right? You just have two colors here, right? And you get so much information just by adding those form and cast shadows. So yeah, when you're looking at the ball theory, right? When you're looking at this ball, right? Again, you have your light and your shadow, essentially, and then the mid-tone in between. But like for something as simple as like an anime that is very two-dimensional, you're just basically going to be looking at light, form shadow, cast shadow, right? Wait, I'm sorry, I'm late for class. Komasaki, welcome in. Unfortunately, you actually did miss like the whole class. But thank you. And also, welcome to the Foxfires. Go down. Ah, crap. It's okay. Everything is on a VOD, so the class will be uploaded tomorrow. Let me take my seat. Welcome in. But yeah, so we have our form, and then again, cast shadow is kind of, oh, let me put the lines back on. Cast shadow is like really a bulk of the information that you are putting into that piece. And the biggest part is just remember to look from a distance, stand from afar, and then look at adding those shadows in, because it can get very, very easy to get lost in the little folds of all the shadows and stuff like that made into the clothing. But remember when we started this mid-tone, or this base layer, like remember I just started with like a cast shadow from the bottom of the breast, right? Head was an easy one to add. If we imagined a head, we had a head form here. And then I took a look of the entire like torso as a whole, right? And we added kind of a shade down here flat first, and then over the whole thing, right? So this whole sleeve, right, became kind of a cast shadow here on this half. The reason why it's like a little bit lighter here is just because of this curve. Like this is higher up, so you're gonna get a little bit more of light sitting on that top of the chest, whereas opposed to under the chest, it's gonna be a little bit more further over. And this is, again, looking at references. You can see those shadows if you have something as a reference, and you learn over time. And then this sleeve, right, is gonna have its own little bit of form as well too, because this is gonna be kind of like a cylinder, right? And the light is gonna hit the top of here, but get hidden a little bit in this corner. So just start really, really big shapes. Don't get lost in the details, and you can just slowly stack on and add those details as you go. So adding your form and your cast shadows, and then you want to add, where did my other layer go? The occlusion. So you can do a quick occlusion just at this point too. So we just darkened up some of those points where the shadow is going to be the absolute darkest. So I started with just going into the armpits areas where those lines kind of are, and it's kind of like tracing over your line art a little bit. And then we add in our midtones. So this is just going to be picking up some extra colors, lighter colors. And remember, don't go lighter than your lightest color, which should be your base in this case of clothing. And don't go darker than your occlusion. So whatever color you picked up for the occlusion, don't go darker than that. And avoid black, or true white for these cases. It's always a good thing to keep in mind. And then again, just go back in after you do your rendering or your midtones. Go back in with your occlusion. Make sure those lines are still the darkest points, because sometimes when you're rendering, you can kind of accidentally darken things up or lose things. So just make sure, go back in, redarken those up just a titch. And then last point, you can then at that point erase or soften up some of your line art, and then you have your finished, rendered, valued coloring. Absolute wizardry. I'm glad. Also, will there be homework? Yes, there is homework. So your homework is, for me, it was drawing this t-shirt. I'm definitely gonna go in and just be like finding other bits of clothing that we've already drawn in the past in this course, or you can draw some of your own or find some examples. Just find some line art and just start applying some values. So that'll be the best point. This t-shirt is uploaded in the Discord, so if you want it to practice on it, you can have it. If you drew along with me, try drawing it by yourself, because it's one thing to draw, watch, and try to copy what the teacher is doing, and it's a whole other thing to try to replicate and do it on your own. So now I'm going to be kind of like taking this piece that I drew tonight, and I'm going to be comparing it to Isham's finished version of the t-shirt and kind of seeing where I could improve, maybe add more darker colors, see kind of the difference between what I drew on my own without looking at their reference and what they've actually done. So question, what if the thing is supposed to be black? Again, just choose very, very dark that's not quite pure black. And it will look better. Yeah, black is rarely true black. So darker grays look more the part. Exactly. You have a nice, clear voice. Thank you. Thank you, Kawasaki. I've been told a few times I have a very good voice for teaching or for tutorials and those kinds of things. So I appreciate it, because I don't like my voice. I hate my voice. I think I'm in the case with a lot of people. So when people say that I have a very pleasant voice or a nice voice, I really appreciate it, because I worry about it constantly. Yep, so draw some clothes and then start by practicing adding your own shade to different things. I mean, if you're like a completely new beginner, start by doing the ball. Start by doing the sphere. Remember how we talked about the sphere? Let me add these to a folder. The sphere, right? Just make a sphere and redraw this. Like, that is a perfectly acceptable way to start. Find different shapes, make a pyramid and shade it. Do this ball, but move the lighting, you know, to this side. You know, make the light come from this side rather than having it come from here. Make it come from the other side, you know, and just practice drawing it in different directions. That is a huge, huge start. Art starts in the ball. So, I see what you did there. It's good. I've only known you for 5 seconds. Well, I'm glad it's helpful. If it helps you guys learn better, then I'm happy. I have a good voice for teaching then. But yeah, so that's basically today's lesson. Congratulations, you made it through another class. Big clappies. These classes are long too, so big kudos for sticking through them. Because like a regular like art class, you think of it in like a university or something, it would usually be like an hour and a half. These are like having basically 2 blocks back to back, which is huge. So really pat yourself on the back for sticking with these classes. Fun story, there are a number of celebrities and movie stars that don't like their own voice. Yeah, Paul Walker famously never actually watched any of Fast and Furious movies because he could not cringe at his own voice. I feel that. I feel that anytime I have to edit LiLi content. I've gotten a little bit more used to it. It's like I still don't like it, but I've gotten more used to it, at least, like watching back my own VODs and contents and stuff, but survived another. Hello, Zelda, as well. Welcome in. Look, we worked on rendering today, Zelda. Oh wait, that's not it. Where did I put it? Ta-da! We rendered a t-shirt. Ta-da! And thank you for the hydration chance. It was 14 minutes ago, but I did it. Yes, if you do want to see an amazing artist, you could also check out Zelda. Zelda does amazing, beautiful art, is one of my art senpai supremes. I watch a lot of Zelda art to try to improve my own art because I think they're so amazing. So yeah, make sure to give them a follow as well. I look down at my notes from these classes and then I look back up and it's like I've missed 2 hours. I feel that. And a lot of the time, this is why I say definitely check out the VODs when they do come out. Like, you just had today's class, you went through it, it was a lot. Take your rest. Then, you know, whenever the VOD does come up, go through it again. Feel free to just like even do it, like watch it and then like watch the section and then do the art kind of thing, you know? Watch it and then do the art. This one's a little bit different because it's mostly all theory that we go through. But yeah, it's like sit down and listen to the theory and then pick up a pencil and kind of draw and apply kind of thing. So but yes, that's why the VODs are there for you guys to utilize. So I don't think I get clappy as I try to sneak in through the window because I'm late. Look, the only one you're hurting by being late is yourself. Doesn't hurt me that you're late. I don't care if you're late. To be fair, I'm just here for my own art journey, so if I help you along the way, hey, 2 thumbs up. 2 paws up. 2 paws. Right here. But yeah, so that'll basically be it for today. Yeah, rewatch the process, exactly. Oh, and a sippy again. Thank you, Janice. I need it for my throat. Really a college professor? Definitely not. I get too much anxiety to be a teacher. I don't have enough confidence to be a teacher. I'm gonna head over to Twitch though. We are gonna find somebody to raid. Good night, Professor Lily. I don't want to hear me. See? I don't want to hear myself. Also a nya nya, nya nya, and another nya nya, nya nya for you, Blaze. No, definitely sounded one with the I don't care if you're late. Fair. You know what? Very fair. That is something a professor would say. Because the professor's like, I already got your money. I don't care. Fail if you want. It's very different attitude compared to like, I guess like public schools. They care a little bit more in public schools, I feel like. I wonder why that is. These get degrees, baby. The 3 nyans isn't good for my channel points. Or your heart. Nyan nya. I threaten all the hearts. All right. Oh, we can go say hi to Kankan. Yeah. Kankan's doing some artwork, so I feel like I haven't raided Kankan in a while. So we'll go say hi to them. Oh, also a nyada nyada, nyada nyada for Jounce. Heck yeah, give the Kankan some love. Yeah, thank you for hanging out with me. So again, for streams, Roomba, boop 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 boop, chica Roomba. For streams this week, tomorrow we have Dungeon Meshi in the Discord. So ! Discord. I'm sure GG or there you go, Blaze will get it. Dungeon Meshi in the Discord. We are watching the last 3 episodes, so this will be the last of Dungeon Meshi for this week. One of the biggest lies I was told was they won't put up with that attitude in university. Meanwhile, the prof rolls in 10 minutes late to his own lecture on a one wheel. That is so true. That is so accurate. Actually, it's funny. I even got an email from my professor. There's like some kind of like homecoming event thing that I got invited to, and I'm like, do I go to this? I don't know if I should go to it. I don't know what it is exactly. I think it's like some kind of like dinner thing, but I'm like, I don't know if it's like one of those like reunion things. I don't think so. I don't know what it is. I just randomly got a message from my professor and I'm like, why do you have my email? It is a reunion. I have no idea. It seems like a reunion thing, but at the same time, it also seemed very personalized. And I don't know if everybody got one. And I'm like, why am I getting one? I did not. I feel like I scraped by through university. Although I guess that professor did tend to like me more, so maybe. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, Dungeon Meshi tomorrow on Wednesday. Then I figured because we didn't actually end up having IDV this Monday, and I got a little something special for us, I might do a Thursday evening stream. I have a... Can you hear it? I have a box. I have a box of Pokemon cards. I may or may not have bought another box of Pokemon cards. Yeah! So we have more Pokemon cards of the 151 collection because I like the 151 cards too much. So I did get another one because Costco had them on sale. So yeah, I have more of the 151 cards. We'll probably open those up on Thursday night, so that there will be a surprise gorilla stream, I guess you could say, on Thursday. And then I will take Friday off as usual. And then on Saturday, we will be back with some more Minecraft again. And Sunday, we'll be playing some more Crow Game. So that's kind of what the schedule is for this week. Who are we searching for the most? The card that I want right now the most is Articuno. I have all the other legendary birds. I have Mew. I have Mewtwo. The most sought for card for me right now is definitely Articuno. I really want an Articuno. But, I mean, I'll take any of the illustration cards, obviously, because those are the expensive ones. But yeah. Articuno's my favorite too, and I couldn't get her. I have a Moltres. I have both, I think, a reverse Hollow Moltres and a Hollow Moltres. And then I have the really expensive Zapdos card, like the full illustration Zapdos. But I can't get just a simple Articuno. Articunope. Exactly. I'm getting Articunoped over here. But yeah, so we're gonna be doing that on Thursday. I'll ping it in the Discord and stuff like that. So if you do want to know when I go live next, check out the Discord for sure, or my other socials. I'll try to make a thumbnail and post it there as well, but sometimes I forget. A regular Articuno or the OG art or something. So Articuno just has a regular base card. So he should, or she should, whatever gender Articuno is, they should be more easy to technically find. I just haven't been able to do it. I've been unlucky. Unlucky in a weird sense, because like I did get the really good Zapdos cards, so. Yeah, it's the one with the black or the blue background, yeah. The expensive card Zapdos in that set. The full illustration, I believe, is what it's called. I got that one. Yeah. Oh wait, the glass window with all three. It's the one with all three birds. It's the Zapdos one with all three of them in the picture. I got that one, which is the harder one to get. Yeah, it's really pretty. It's a very nice card. But I just want an Articuno. Yeah, maybe there's another God Pack. We did get a God Pack. That was probably the luckiest that we will ever get on any LiLi stream, is that we got the God Pack Charizard opening. If you want to see me open that, it's also on my regular YouTube channel. You can find it, my socials. Go check it out on my YouTube channel. It's like just a little highlight clip of me opening the Charizard and being really excited. But yeah, so let's raid Con. Sorry, I'm like distracted and chatting. I also, speaking of Pokemon Go, speaking of distractions, I got all my Dynamax. I got my Squirtle, my Charmander, and my Bulbasaur. I got all three of my Dynamaxes today. I did a lot of walkies. There was a lot of walkies that were had. All right, we get this raid channel going. So yeah, definitely check out the Discord, check out the Learn Art playlist, do all those things. We're gonna go say hi to Con here, who is also another beautiful, amazing artist. Hello, Marina. Sorry, we're just finishing up. Oh yeah, we also have new merch too. Check out the merch channel. Thank you. I'm sorry. We just finished up our art day. We're actually a little bit over time today, but here is the raid for Con. We have a raid message there if you have my emotes, but if you do not have my emotes, you can also use the second raid message there with the Foxfire emotes, which is very perfect. I like that one a lot too. I use it a lot of the time. But yeah, that should be everything. So I'll see you guys either Wednesday in the Discord for the last 3 episodes of Dungeon Meshi, or on Thursday for some very fun Pokemon card opening, which will probably be in the evening around this same time that I start today, 6 p.m. Pacific. Maybe I'd start a little bit earlier, maybe like 4 or 5, because I can. But yeah. Thank you all for joining me. Good luck in your art journeys, of course. Stick with it. You're doing amazing. You're doing awesome. You can push through. We art together. All right. Bye-bye, Foxfires. And I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time zone it is for you. I hope it's a good one. If you are off to bed, then sweet dreams. Otherwise, let's go give Con some Foxfire lovin'. Bye-bye.